Good morning, everyone. We are here as we come to the end of domestic abuse, National Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, that reminds us all too poignantly of the work that lies before us, the work that we've done, the challenges that we face when it comes to the issue of domestic violence. Sadly, in the city of St. Paul, we lit another candle this week for a victim of domestic violence, a woman who was trying to turn her life around, trying to get to a safer place and a safer situation. So we have a very tragic and very real reminder that our work is not done, in spite of the fact that we have done much work. There are many folks in the audience here that are here in support of victims of domestic violence. Our advocates that are available to talk to anyone who feels the need. That they are here to be supportive, they are here to answer questions, they are here to just be a shoulder to lean on. And I'd love it if all of our domestic abuse victim advocates would raise their hands so people would just know who they are. You know, sometimes we get caught up in bragging about the things that we've done, and we've done some amazing work in the city of St. Paul. The blueprint for domestic violence, the center that is on this floor in this courthouse, the advocates, the community support, all that we have done. But then again, we pick up the paper or we get a phone call from the chief who tells us that we have not met our goal, which is to end domestic violence in this community. To end murder, to end the torture that so many of our victims are experiencing on a daily basis. We have done some tremendous things, as I've said. It's been a community effort. The people that are behind me, the people that are in front of me, the people that aren't here, that understand the very significant challenges that we face. But as we come to the end of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, let us redouble our effort, let us redouble our commitment. Let us continue to work together to do everything that we can to protect children, family members, the people that are vulnerable, the people that suffer on a daily basis.
We as a county stand before you to say we will not tolerate the mistreatment of any member of our community. Domestic violence is a horrendous crime. And I can tell you that as I look around here, and I wish that I had brought some Kleenex up here, as I'm looking around at all of these really sad reminders of what has happened within our community. And I can tell you from a personal standpoint, 25 years ago when I was going through domestic abuse treatment, or help, I guess, counseling through Wilder, I could have easily been on one of these t-shirts. But the help that I received from the advocates, from the people that gave me the tools to not only get myself out, but to get my children out so that we would survive and thrive. And so this is very personal to me. And I just know that we have come a long way, but we still have further to go. I would like to, at this moment, ask for a moment of silence for all of those who have gone. Thank you. I will now turn the podium over to Chief Smith.
Good morning, everybody. Turn this up a little bit here. I want to first thank Shelley Johnson-Klein from St. Paul Intervention Project for putting this event together that's so important so that we never forget the victims, the women, the children, even fathers that are victims of domestic violence. We're here today for the 2010 Clothesline Project, and I hope that each one of you takes the time to look at all of these t-shirts before you leave here this morning, because that's very important, because we don't want to forget. But I hope that in the coming years, we will see less t-shirts. We will see less of a clothesline. That clothesline, for a better lack of the term, will be empty. But until that time, we have more work to do. Last year in 2010, 28 women, children, and men lost their life to domestic violence in the state of Minnesota. Those numbers are too high. We have to change that. And countless other people are victims of domestic violence that's silent type of crime that many times people will not come forward on. We need to change that, and we are changing that today. My personal experience goes back 10 years ago as a commander in the city of St. Paul, getting a call to go to a homicide. Oh, it was more than a homicide, my friends. It was a case where 3 small children, as I walked into the apartment, were stabbed violently to death by one of their parents. I never forgot that. In fact, I hide that in a deep, dark space in the back of my mind. Other police officers also have responded to similar situations, maybe not as tragic, maybe people survive, but you never forget. But there's good news. Today, because of the Blueprint for Safety, today, because Bridges for Safety, right down the hallway in this beautiful facility, there are things and advocates that can help police officers and all of us to lower and lessen the instances of domestic violence. It's about a partnership. It's about working with advocates. Police officers today write better reports. We've received more training. We have different resources, such as our partners that I spoke about before, so that we can intervene and change the lives of others, especially mothers with children.
When everybody in the criminal justice system, starting from a 911 operator going all the way through probation, approaches our work around domestic violence around 2 primary goals: to enhance victim safety and to ensure offender accountability, which is sure and swift, we can make a difference around domestic violence. That is what the Blueprint for Safety is all about. Today, the Blueprint for Safety is being implemented as pilot projects across this nation because it is working right here in St. Paul. From a prosecution perspective, this blueprint has really made a big difference. Just as an example, just in St. Paul, around our gone and arrival cases, the time that it takes to charge those cases has been reduced dramatically, from over 45 days average to 7 to 8 days today. In the county attorney's office, with respect to felony domestic abuse cases, the time that it takes to charge cases has dropped from 11 days on average to 2. And the reason why that matters is because when we can reduce the time that it takes to charge those cases and we work in partnership with our law enforcement partners, we're sending the right message to the victims of domestic violence. We're doing the right type of intervention, and at the end of the day, we are ensuring offender accountability. It is the right message and the only message to send to those who commit the crime of domestic violence.
And today, collaboration continues to be at the heart of all of our work. The Flare Up Project that joins advocates, police, prosecution, and probation ensures the most dangerous of our perpetrators are held accountable for their crimes, and victims at the highest risk receive the protection and services that they so desperately need. Bridges to Safety, which is back here in the corner, houses an array of government and community-based programs in one safe, centralized location and has been the gateway for over 4,850 victims to receive over 9,000 services. In the St. Paul City Attorney's Office, this collaboration, as we've said, has led to better cases. Our conviction rate since these partnerships have been solidified has gone from 67 to 80%. It has also led to swifter justice, as John mentioned, in our gone on arrival cases. Through the work of John and so many of these folks in the Flare Up team, as John mentioned, we were able to reduce the time it was taking for offenders in the City Attorney's Office from somewhere over 80 days to 8 days. This has sped the path to safety for victims of domestic violence throughout St. Paul. We will continue to do so. We know that when we collaborate, we continue to cultivate better methods to protect domestic violence victims and end domestic violence throughout our community. Thank you very much. And now I'll turn the microphone over to Bree Adams-Bill with St. Paul Intervention.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here today. For every one woman that is murdered because of domestic violence, at least 9 more are almost killed. As an advocate from the St. Paul Intervention Project, I do not stand here alone, for our work is aligned daily with our government partners you have heard from today, along with community organizations and sister programs that provide direct, critical, culturally diverse services to victims of domestic violence. We are honored to be joined by Asian Women United, Breaking Free, Bridges to Safety, Casa de Esperanza, Children's Safety Center, Outfront Minnesota, Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, Tubman, Women's Advocates, Women of Nations, and Sexual Offense Services. Two women wish they could stand before you today and share their stories. Although they are free of their violent situations, they still justifiably fear the retaliation of their abusers. So it is on their behalf that I have taken pieces of each of their stories to create one story. A story that could not be identified to one victim, but reflects the stories of hundreds of battered women. Brianna was married for 8 years and has 3 children. During the first 2 years of her marriage, her husband did not hit her, but he was frequently critical of her and emotionally abusive. When Brianna was pregnant with her first child, his control of her escalated, and he hit her for the very first time. In the years that followed, Brianna was kept from seeing her family and friends. She was told she was ugly, worthless, and stupid, and that nobody cared what happened to her. The beatings became more frequent, humiliating, and increasingly violent. Prior to moving to St. Paul, Brianna had tried getting help from the local police, but she had a difficult time being understood and felt she wasn't taken seriously. It was after Brianna moved to St. Paul she felt hope. A year ago, she was horribly beaten by her husband. She managed to call 911, and frightened and in shock, Brianna told the dispatcher that she was badly hurt and that her husband had been demanding she pay him thousands of dollars for all the trouble she had caused him. The 911 operator told her they would concentrate on what was important. That was her safety and her well-being. At that moment, and perhaps for the very first time after being deliberately injured, Brianna felt she mattered, that somebody out there cared whether she lived or died. The operator kept Brianna on the phone until the police arrived. It was this first interface with the first responders that set the foundation for the subsequent interactions Brianna would have with our justice system, a strong foundation that was built on trust and compassion. If Brianna were here with us, she would say she has her very own personal police officer. Because of the continued engagement Brianna had with the First Light, her own personal police officer from the Family Violence Unit, and her very own advocate, made her feel protected and connected to essential services. Brianna trusted calling for help each time her abuser violated her OFP. She trusted staying in a shelter with her children until her husband was apprehended. She trusted working with legal aid to gain custody and further protection for her children. She trusted that prosecution would attempt to place legal sanctions on her husband's assaultive behavior, and she trusted her advocates would assist her in ensuring her and her children's immediate and transitional needs were met so she can begin to move forward and live a life free of violence. Brianna was heard and believed by all of us. And although Brianna knows her now ex-husband will continue his attempts to regain power over her, she is confident because she knows 24 hours of every day we will be there for her. Today, we proudly stand in unison, saying enough is enough. These t-shirts should not be here because domestic violence should not exist. Women, children, family members, and friends should never be murdered by someone they once thought they could trust. Uniting here today, we are shaking our heads at any tolerance that prevails to condone its existence. But at the very same time, we are nodding our heads to victims of all ages, lifestyles, cultures, economic backgrounds, sexual orientations, and spiritual beliefs. That, yes, we are here. We want to help you. And we will do all we can to prevent a t-shirt in your name from hanging on this clothesline. Thank you.
That concludes our memorial and our remembrance today, but more importantly, it reaffirms our pledge to end domestic violence in this community. Thank you for being here.